Iconic symbols of the Battle of Britain, credited with turning the tide of the Second World War, but at a heavy price, with devastating losses of planes and pilots. One of the luckier escapes was from a Spitfire, which ended up here.
This is an extract from a letter that my father wrote to my mother. I had a bit of excitement today when 3 of us went up after a lone raider. We found him and went into the attack in turn from the rear. I had to turn away after firing at him continuously for 5 seconds because my oil tank must have caught a bullet from him. I went on for a bit, climbing all the way, and came to the conclusion that I couldn't possibly land the machine because I couldn't see a thing in front of me. So I decided to jump for it, which I did with great success. It was all very exciting for a first engagement, especially coming down by parachute, which really was not at all unpleasant.
Pilot Officer Paul Ballion had 24 hours off, then was back in the air. 8 weeks later, he was shot down, his body eventually washing up on the French coast. He was 26, only married a year, and never got to meet his daughter, who was born a few months after his death.
I'm very proud of him, but also there's always a sadness. You have a certain amount of mourning all your life, and it doesn't matter how old you are, you've still got that feeling there.
Operation Nightingale helps personnel recover through practical archaeology. They call it a treasure hunt, but slightly more technical, and many here are sifting through their own buried wreckage.
I was involved in a vehicle-borne suicide bombing on our convoy back in January 2004 when we were part of Kabul's patrols company. My sort of main legacy injury of that is my left arm is not functioning. The great thing about a project like this is that you get to meet other wounded service personnel, and we all play to our strengths. For instance, those that aren't necessarily able to dig at all can work in the finds tent, and there's a lot of other practical skills that go with archaeology beyond just digging a hole.
Also on the dig are reservists from RAF Leeming, where the squadron this Spitfire belonged to is based.
I've got a background in archaeology, and working in commercial archaeology you don't get many chances to excavate something as interesting as a Spitfire. So that's one reason you think, oh yeah, I'll jump at a chance to that. And then when you find out it's also one of yours from a long battle history that your squadron's got, you think, yeah, I'll definitely go and do that.
This is part right from the very front of the Merlin engine, just the gearing at the front, and the propellers are coming out from here. So this is the front of the business end of the aircraft. To get something like this, which is directly connected with the Battle of Britain, really is quite an exciting moment.
Op Nightingale's even inspired some of the diggers to consider a new career in this field, post-injury.
You really have got the bug for archaeology, haven't you?
Yes, most definitely so. I think it's just interesting digging up the past, and to dig it properly and actually learn from it as well. Learning from our past is, we can do so much more with that.
The men who flew those Spitfires are absolute heroes. They played an enormous part in saving the freedom of this country, and to be part of just touching that history and feeling part of it is really important.
For me, the overriding sense on this dig is one of touch, connection. It's connecting injured servicemen to a team effort again, a shared goal. It's connecting those with an interest in military history to an aircraft that's been buried for 73 years. And for Rosemary, she's been a little more connected to the father she never got to meet. She's been able to take away today pieces of this glass reinforced cockpit, the perspex that he looked through and possibly touched in the moments before he ejected. So for her to handle this, to take this away, maybe she feels a sense of connection to her father. Julie Knox, Forces News, Salisbury Plain.